and tell you why I feel Onsra may become one of the top e-skate brands.
Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome to another video. Today we're looking at the Black Carve 3. This is one of the boards that I'm most interested in trying out. We're going to do a range test, but there's something really important for you to understand. The weather is cold today, so that's going to impact not just the board's performance, but also my performance, because I'm going to be cold. I mean, it's also going to impact like the wheels, the bushings, and all that stuff. So just keep that in mind for this review. Anyway, let's get to it.
The Onsra Black Carve 3 is one of my favorite electric skateboards in the all-terrain or 2-in-1 category at this time. There's a lot to love, but for some people, the specs might not be on par with the competition. The Black Carve 3 that I have uses belt drive, but it's also available with direct drive motors. Let's go through every part of this board.
Oh my god, it's so cold. I feel like I can barely talk. My face is frozen.
As far as I can tell, the deck is the same as the Black Carve 2 deck, which I liked and I still like on the Black Carve 3. It is a stiff deck with a slight drop and drop-through mounted trucks, and the foam grip tape helps absorb a little bit of road vibrations. The trucks are interesting, and not just because they're extremely wide and good looking. They are labeled as traditional kingpin trucks only because the kingpin is behind the hanger, but the angle of the pivot pin is more similar to reverse kingpin trucks than what you normally see on TKP. I wasn't sure how I would feel about the trucks being so wide, but they actually feel pretty great.
Yeah, these trucks, when they're so wide, they really are more stable. Yeah, it's not just stability. I think it also improves the ride comfort. You don't feel the bumps as much.
At low speeds, the turn radius was a bit large, but at cruising speeds, the maneuverability felt totally fine to me.
Yeah, U-turn on a 2-lane street, not a problem.
You can of course flip the cup washer or change bushings to make the board even more maneuverable if desired. My only minor complaint about these trucks is that the kingpin sticks out past the hanger quite a bit, leaving only about 3 centimeters or 1.2 inches of ground clearance when using the stock rubber wheels. I'm a little bit concerned about the threads at the tip getting damaged in the long term. To be fair, I've seen this design issue on other e-skate TKP trucks as well. Aside from that, so far I quite like these trucks, and I would definitely choose these over the double kingpin trucks used on the Black Carve 2. The Black Carve 3 comes with either 150mm wheels with pneumatic tires or 115mm rubber wheels. I'm using the rubber wheels because I like the feeling of being closer to the ground. The rubber wheels are also some of the most cushy wheels available around that size.
I just want to show you guys what it's like to ride over these tiles. You can hear it in my voice, right?
If you'll frequently ride over rough terrain, or if you want more ground clearance, or if you want to be able to adjust tire pressure, the pneumatic tires may be the better option for you. If you want the wheels that give you more range, technically the rubber wheels will give you that, but only a little bit. If you're concerned about range, you should probably look into aftermarket urethane wheels. The battery is 648 watt-hours made up of 21700 cells in a 12S3P arrangement. This is the same as the Black Carve 2, except the cells have been upgraded from the Samsung 50E to the new Samsung 50S, which have a higher continuous discharge rating while maintaining the same capacity. In other words, it's an upgraded battery, even though the capacity remains the same. Compared to other current generation all-terrain boards, the 12S3P 648 watt-hour battery is on the smaller side. It's enough for me, but probably not for the people who value battery size above all else. The charger output is 4.5 amps, which should recharge the 15 amp-hour battery in about 3.5 to 4 hours. The motors have been upgraded from 6368 170 kV on the Black Carve 2 to 6374 150 kV on the Black Carve 3. The stock gear ratio with the rubber wheels is 40:14, but funny story. I thought my board was using 40T for the wheel gear because that's what Onsra's website says. 40:14 for the rubber wheels and 60:14 for the pneumatics. Well, it turns out my board was actually using 45T, not the stock 40T. What that means is my unit has slightly stronger torque and a slightly lower top speed compared to the stock setup. 40T versus 45T is not a big difference, but enough to be noticeable, so it kind of messes up my review a little bit. After I reported the mistake, Fabian did offer to send the 40T pulleys, but I don't mind the 45T at all, so I'm keeping this setup. For those of you new to belt drive boards, one of the advantages of belt drive is that you can change the performance of the board by using bigger or smaller pulleys. As for the performance I got on this board, I'll get to that very soon. Let me first finish talking about the components. The Black Carve 3 is using Onsra's own ESC, which they call Orion, and their own very nice looking remote, which they call NX. These are excellent, and you can tell they put a ton of work into them.
This display, I really like it.
The remote has a 1.3-inch display and lets you toggle through lots of different ride data right on the home screen. Most remotes that have displays let you see the current speed, ride mode, battery indicators, a trip meter, and an odometer. The NX remote shows all of that, but also the ride time, current voltage, average speed, and more. The menu system lets you configure a bunch of stuff like the motor type, wheel size, and the performance of each of the 4 ride modes, and it was actually pretty useful for me.
Brutal mode was too strong for me, but sport mode could be a little stronger.
So I went into the menu to make changes. Going through the menu system to increase the performance was really fast and straightforward. I made an adjustment, tested the board, and repeated the process until sport mode was fine-tuned to the way I wanted. On a couple other boards that I have, this would take a lot longer. In comparison, making adjustments on the Black Carve 3 was extremely fast.
I really like this menu, and the fact that the remote has a nice and big display. The layout of the menu, like just the navigation, it's really easy. It's really easy and really fast.
Another set of changes I made was to the wheel size parameter, because I noticed the speed and distance measurements were way off. The reason was of course because my board was using 45T instead of 40T, but I didn't know that, so I tried to correct it by testing different wheel size numbers until the measurements matched what I was getting on my GPS app. Anyway, my point is that the process of experimenting with different parameters was thankfully quite fast on the Black Carve 3. Otherwise, this would have taken me forever. I just wish going into the menu didn't require holding the option button for like 5 seconds. I mean, why not just make it 1 or 2 seconds? Another feature I really like is the auto reverse. This is similar to the reverse feature on VESC-based ESCs. When it's enabled, braking at a full stop becomes reverse after 2 seconds. I feel that they should have made the 2 seconds be 1 second instead, but maybe I'm just impatient. The speed in reverse is the same as eco mode, so that the board doesn't accidentally fly out from under you.
Yeah, I can't really go full throttle on Brutal. It kind of pushes me back a little bit too hard.
The strongest ride mode on the Black Carve 3 is called Blrutahleh, and it's a great name that accurately describes how it feels. Going from a complete stop straight to full throttle is much stronger than I can handle, but if I ease into the throttle, it's totally smooth and controllable. The brakes are also excellent. On my unit, the default brake setting was 80% on every ride mode, and I just kept it that way. It's very strong if I slam on the brakes, but I can still brake as gently as I want.
Yeah, the brakes are good.
For the top speed with the 45T pulleys, I was only able to reach 38 kilometers per hour. I wasn't trying to test the top speed, but I was riding faster than I normally would because of how stable these trucks were. Again, I did not know my board was not using the stock pulleys, but even if it were, and if the weather were ideal and I lost some weight, I don't think the board would have reached the 50 kilometers per hour top speed claimed by Onsra on their website, at least not with stock parts. If you put in the Black Carve 3 specs on the Eastgate calculator webpage, it shows that the top speed should be 49 kilometers per hour. That's if you weigh nothing. So I'm not so sure about that 50 kilometer per hour top speed claim. Anyway, if you care about top speed, I think most other current generation all-terrain boards can go faster. You can of course change the pulleys or wheels to get a higher top speed at the cost of torque. Personally, I'm totally fine with the speed I got, because the risk of injury and death increases exponentially with impact speed. As consumer products often used by beginners, I think the top speeds of electric skateboards are getting out of hand. Anyway, I got 38 kilometers per hour, but with the stock pulleys, you should be able to expect low to mid 40s. If you already have this board, you're of course welcome to share your speed in the comments.
The battery's at 60% and I've gone about 15 point something kilometers. I should be able to pass 30 kilometers, I think. Or maybe get about 30, we'll see.
The range I got is also quite different from Onsra's claim of 45 kilometers with the rubber wheels. But unlike the top speed claim, I think the 45 kilometer range claim is achievable if you're light enough and you ride slow enough and the stars are aligned.
So I'm almost out of power. The remote shows 10%. I noticed that the percentage is actually in 5% increments. So it goes like, okay, now it's at 5. Yeah, so it goes like 5, 10, 15, 20, you know.
In my range test, I got 28 kilometers after riding down to about 10% battery. As always, remember that many things affect range. If I were to do the same test on a different day with different weather and different traffic conditions, etc., I would get a different result. On the Black Carve 2 a year and a half ago, with the same wheels, same battery capacity, same pulleys, same weight, and also riding to 10%, but in much better weather and riding slower, I got 38 kilometers. So again, different conditions can affect the range by quite a bit. For an all-terrain board at $1,600 that came out in 2022, the range and top speed specs of the Black Carve 3 are kind of mediocre compared to much of the competition. And yet, this is one of my favorite boards in this category. The deck, the trucks, and the performance made for a really fun ride straight out of the box. The remote looks great, is ergonomic, and it works equally well in the left hand and right hand. The display and the menu system, I think, are the best I've seen so far on an electric skateboard remote. I'm talking about things like the way the logo appears, the layout of the home screen, the menu's ease of use, etc. This remote looks and feels like it was actually designed by people who have actual empathy for the customer. The same goes for the user manual. It is very thorough and full of useful information for complete beginners. Even for myself, I found the manual to be useful for learning about the features of the remote. But the thing that Onsra does better than any other e-skate company I know of is the warranty period. They offer a 2-year warranty for each board and 1 year for the battery. This is for all Onsra customers from any part of the world. As for how well they honor their warranty, I really have no idea, but at least you can continually bug them for 2 years as opposed to just 6 months with most other e-skate brands. So, who is the Black Carve 3 for? I think it's for people who want a great ride experience, don't care too much about speed and range, and want to buy from a company that comes across as very professional. For electric skateboards to appeal to a wider audience, especially at over $1,000, I feel that e-skate brands in general need to place way more focus on things like build quality, aesthetics, user experience, and trust. Yes, there will always be e-skate enthusiasts willing to spend thousands of dollars on electric skateboards for more power and more range, but they are people inside of a small e-skate bubble. When a newcomer picks up an electric skateboard for the first time, what do they always say? They always say that it's heavy, and I think the heavier the boards become, the less appealing they are to the average consumer. Another thing I feel e-skate brands should consider is that the electric skateboard is not the only form of PEV out there. You can keep making boards go faster and farther and more off-road capable, but an EUC, for example, is always going to be better in those areas. From a practical standpoint, the advantage of a skateboard form factor compared to other PEVs is that it's more portable. By making boards bigger and heavier, that advantage is diminished, and a customer who is interested in a skateboard PEV may end up thinking, well, I might as well get an e-scooter or an e-bike instead. So what does all that have to do with Onsra? My point is, I'm glad Onsra did not join the rat race of going for more speed and range, because in my opinion, that's the wrong direction for e-skate. Instead, they upgraded the components that needed upgrading and put their resources into designing a new ESC and remote. As a result, I feel like Onsra has the best e-skate remote right now, and that is a way bigger accomplishment than improving speed and range. When I covered the Black Carve 2, Onsra's 2-year warranty did not cover customers outside the EU, but Fabian was already talking about making that happen, and he has. For people outside of the e-skate bubble, I think improvements like these are way more meaningful. In my Black Carve 2 video, I said that I think Onsra is on track to becoming one of the top e-skate brands. On my personal tier list, they've already made it. To me, the Black Carve 3 is one of the best boards in its category, and Onsra is one of the best e-skate brands to buy from.